I created a bunch of helpful AI tools to help you assess your own mindset in regards to morality and psychology in the systems of today and the subjects that they don't want you talking about. They're really the subjects you may want to face in yourself because, in truth, we don't want to see our own ignorance, our own problems, our own unconscious behavioral patterns. And Carl Jung talks about that quite a bit. I've had a whole series of videos on that subject from multiple different points of view. But these AI tools can greatly assist you. This is not a sponsorship. It's youai.ai. Okay, and this is through mindstudio. I have a bunch of helpful AIs based on my books and also other people's books, and you can do this with yours too. It's very easy actually, but I also did it for Mark Passio's Natural Law transcript and other helpful resources that I find to be super helpful. In case you're totally new to my channel, there are resources and books that I consider to be more powerful than anything else I've ever come across, and that will really change the world in my opinion. And I do all this work for free in educational purposes. That's why I'm willing to put my books into an AI so you can ask it literally anything. Okay, and so I put my whole book in there. Now, of course, AI isn't perfect. It's not going to look at everything perfectly, but that is the goal. And I tried giving it multiple formats. I tried holding different tests, and I tried asking it several different questions, and I'm pretty satisfied with the results. So I'll have everything linked in the description below. But just for a brief summary, we have Tao, The Full Return to Nature, which is my latest book talking about Taoism, the Eastern ancient philosophy, which goes into freedom from every point of view in seeing things that our current society absolutely does not see. I mean, that's the whole concept of yin, right? Which is darkness, that black part of the yin-yang symbol, and white is that light part of the yin-yang symbol. It's the yang, it's the masculine as opposed to the feminine, and that's another way to look at it. And so that book, you can ask it any question you want. Ask it those questions. Ask about the logo. Ask about the ancient Chinese anarchist writers. It's in that book as well. You can also look at Nature by Ralph Waldo Emerson and Henry David Thoreau, similar writer. I have that one as well as an AI, so you can feel free to ask that questions. I have Candles in the Dark, which is how do you speak to people? How do you speak to people who are statist, people who are closed-minded, who don't want to question their own mindset, who have never questioned authority before? Maybe you are curious and you've never come across this information. You can ask the AI some questions, though again, this one's more of a guide to how do you talk to others. Then the next one is What Anarchy Isn't. This one is more so for the individual who's new and wants to learn, okay? Really breaking down the misconceptions of what the word anarchy means. If you break it down in Greek, anarchon simply means no rulers, not no rules, and it really breaks it down in many different ways. Then we have Discourse on Voluntary Servitude. This is a very old text from about the 1600s. Well, of course, Taoism goes back even further. This is one of the first ever freedom texts that in the modern day received a lot of attention from a lot of rebellious figures, but also in general looks at the history of governments and is able to make these different patterns and correlations which a lot of people nowadays do not see, in talking about voluntarism and how people consent and give their power away to the government systems that be. Then we have The End of All Evil by Jeremy Locke, a very simple read book. I mean, I recommend you can just read the book, but I figured to make that into an AI as well because, hey, now you can just ask it any question you want. Then you have the Natural Law transcript from Mark Passio's Natural Law seminar. A lot of people love that seminar. It's about like 9 hours long, but here you got an AI. You can ask it any question in the world. The transcript was based on Derek Bartolicelli's transcription work, so thank you to him. And then, of course, I have my other books, Sapientia Naturae, the guidebook, and then Sapientia Naturae, just the regular version. The guidebook is my preferred version and it asks a lot of questions, so you can ask it anything about nature, natural law, morality, etc. And it should be able to answer your questions. Can't guarantee everything, of course, because it's very highly poetically read and written. That's how I write for those two texts, so they're more of a reflection text. I don't know how well they will do, but I figured to include them on this list. And then there's Nature's Radical Honesty, which is very important. The principle of honesty, why you should be honest to others, and how you shouldn't make exceptions. Maybe you want to challenge it and be like, well, what about this? What about that? And see what it has to say. I'd be curious. Then, of course, my huge health book, The Art of Diet. Ask it any health question. I don't know how accurate it is. I did challenge some things and I was like not super impressed by the results, but you're gonna get some things in there, I'm sure, that will be quite interesting, because if you do have that book in person, you would see it's an encyclopedia of health and nutrition information, and I don't have a lot of information about that on my channel, since a lot of my works is focused on freedom and voluntarism, creating a voluntary free world for everybody. Now, aside from the AIs, I also created a bunch of printable sheets, that is shareable sheets that you can just easily print. Now, these are actually from books. So I basically took the book and condensed it into pages that you can print. So The End of All Evil, instead of being at a 100-page book format, you can now print it 34 pages. And I also made sure it's an even number, so you can actually print double-sided, okay? And so then you can save even more paper, right? You can get a whole book within about 15 pages. Pretty crazy, okay? So that's what you can do with The End of All Evil, and the same thing with the Discourse on Voluntary Servitude, 16 pages, that goes down to 8 pages. Super helpful. Now you can give books to your loved ones, friends. Maybe you want to put it in people's mailboxes, your neighbors. I don't know what you can do, but hey, freedom of speech, sharing the ideas. Back then, people did that. They were pamphletists like Lysander Spooner and Thomas Paine, but also Candles in the Dark. I have a printable version of that too, 10 pages. That goes down to 5. Okay, very helpful for, again, how do we talk to people? It has questions and answers and specific questions that you can ask. All of that super duper helpful. Okay, another one, What Anarchy Isn't. That one's only 6 pages. It goes down to 3 pages. So even better. And as you know, so many people don't know what anarchy is, and this one just breaks it down so simply. So I highly recommend printing this one, checking it out, or just saving it onto your hard drive, having backups, you know, distributing it to other people. Please do. Of course, you can also repost any of my videos. You can do that anytime. You don't need my permission. You can clip it all you want. Another thing that I did was I asked Man Against the State, who I interviewed for the End of Slavery Summit, a great guy. He has great videos on his channel. He's got, you know, several 100,000 views on his animations. I asked him, I said, hey, there isn't really any brochures or materials online that I know of based around the economic side of freedom, you know, what usually people call anarcho-capitalism. So I was like, can you make a brochure or something that I can share with people so they get that perspective too? Because I just want people to know about it. Like, I know morality is at the root to everything, but people like him, you know, he understood the morality of it, but he still wanted to understand the economy side of it. So he did make a brochure, and that's super helpful. So you can check that out as well. Now, all the resources I mentioned are on the resources page of the Liberator.us website. So if you go to theliberator.us, okay, there is a newsletter you can sign up for, and then you should be automatically redirected to the resources page. Now, in case you aren't, that's okay. It's theliberator.us/resources. theliberator.us/resources, and you'll find out they are all there. But there's more resources like the one on the economy on the share page. So go to the share page as well. There's a bunch of other resources, many that I have not named in this video, and I have made even more resources going back to date that you can find on nita.one and nita.one, and other places you're going to find on my videos. I've made, you know, different scripts for my videos, some of my documentaries as well. So I have a bunch, and if you're just curious and you ever want something like written from any one of my videos that are scripted from back then, because I don't really have that nowadays. They're all articles for the Liberator.us. You can request it for me. I will give it to you through email. Okay, now finally, I want to share with you a really helpful tool that you can use that I have a friend in the community that has been working on it. Okay, and I don't know how much credit he wants for it, but there is a website link. It's candleai.teleporthq.app. I'll have that also linked. And this is a more comprehensive AI to Larkin Rose's work, and it really is meant to have the statist, or the person who is totally confined in their thinking and believes in government. It's meant for them. So they can go to this website and the bot will interact with them and get them asking questions about their own worldview. Now, I tried challenging it with a bunch of statist questions, and it led me down some different rabbit holes, and I was trying to really push for that libertarian, like, well, we can just have limited government, and well, if we had the right person in power, and just saying things like that. And over time, I realized, wait, it is doing a pretty good job at challenging me. Okay, because after a while, and after I kept hammering it home with those libertarian points, I was like, this thing isn't really challenging me. I was like, okay, it is kind of challenging me. It's getting me to think a lot about myself. And it's kind of good that it's not like out front just like attacking you or saying that you're wrong or anything like that. It's just asking you questions. And that's exactly what we would do with other people if we want them to think about their own worldview. So this bot does it for you. I encourage that you check it out yourself, or send it to anybody who you think still believes in government but is willing to entertain the possibility that maybe they are wrong. It would be fun to maybe also do a live stream with this, and maybe get some guests who are totally new and having them talk to this bot and seeing how they react and seeing what their responses would be. If you guys would be interested in a sort of scientific experiment, I've also conducted created sheets and materials for a real life experiment that we can do, kind of like a psychology experiment, but it's entirely humane, that is based on questions, but based on much more, like seeing people's reactions and seeing how people, what their responses are and how they talk to other people about those responses and stuff like that. And I have a certain word for it that I find to be amazing. I have a certain way of doing it. And of course, we have a bunch of other projects going on, so feel free to get in touch anytime you want to, and let me know, would you be interested if I did some, cool, different, change it up a little bit, some live streams or different content around those ideas, or if you have other suggestions as well, let me know. But I figured to share those resources with you guys. Thank you very much for watching.